All right, good morning. Welcome to Accuracy in America. It is Monday, December 28th, 2020. 3 more days, folks. That's it. And the year will be over with. And for some, that'll be good riddance. For others, maybe not so much. I think the effect of 2020 was kind of all over the board, all over the though for a lot of people, obviously, with the COVID pandemic, definitely a huge negative for the year for a lot of people. All right, in the news here, we had over the weekend, we had on Christmas Day, we had basically an RV exploded. It was like a big bomb went off in downtown Nashville. Um, the original reports were that this was an intentional act. And what we have right now is that they have apparently tentatively identified remains in the vehicle of a 63-year-old man. They do not know the motive. They're getting a positive match from relatives for DNA to make sure that it is indeed the individual. Apparently, before this RV exploded, there was a message being played to kind of warn people about 15 minutes in advance. There were 6 police officers in Nashville that cleared the area and that minimized the casualties. So lots of people were hurt by this. Luckily, it was Christmas Day, so you're not going to have as many people out and about anyway on Christmas Day. But a few were critical, but others are recovering. So there were no deaths as of today from this incident. Why this person did it, who knows? Plus, there was another incident where there was a guy who was arrested driving a white box truck down a freeway, playing some of the same type of music or message. You don't know. I really don't know what this world is coming to sometimes. I don't understand the purpose of sitting off, blowing yourself up basically on Christmas Day in downtown Nashville. Lots of conspiracy theories going around about this. But there was severe damage to storefronts in the area in that part of downtown Nashville. But luckily, no lives were lost. I can't even begin to explain what is going on right now with that. We will learn more as law enforcement authorities learn more and confirm more of the things that are going on down there as they gather more evidence and try to piece together who this guy was and why he might have done it. Relatives may not have any idea. A lot of times relatives are pretty clueless. They have no idea if somebody kind of goes off and does crazy things, leaving the relatives usually in disbelief. So I don't know anything about this guy's life at this point in time. More details will yet emerge. President Trump yesterday went ahead and signed the $908 billion COVID relief package that goes along with the spending package to keep the government running. So we're talking about $2.3 trillion worth of spending coming. This means $600 stimulus checks per person will start being cranked out. They thought maybe it was going to be this week if the bill had been signed last week. So, there might be a chance that, because Treasury, now that it's in effect, they could ramp this up and just program this in. That's possible that there might be some that might actually be transmitted by direct deposit this week. But I think next week is the more likely scenario that you'll get a 2021 stimulus check for half the amount that you got in 2020. I don't see that Trump wins anything by this at all. He dragged this thing out a few days. He said that he was going to urge Congress to cut some of the wasteful spending and things that are in there. But they're going to ignore him. There's no reason for them to abide by his wishes. He has no legislative power to do anything about that. His legislative power, was basically, I wasn't going to sign the bill. So he railed against it, and yet he signed it. So, I don't know how to interpret that except that he just wasted a lot of time for the inevitable, right? If he had fought with the others, with other Republicans to try to push back against this, maybe something could have happened with it. But it was probably in a lot of cases too little, too late. That that they realized that once they passed the bill, that they had stuff in there that they didn't. It was just another porculus bill with all the government spending and all the things to keep the government running as well. And so we are back to more of the same behavior that that we've talked about in Congress for years and years and years, things really haven't changed. It doesn't really matter who's in power. They're all doing the same thing. Democrats will vote for it. Republicans will vote for it. Some may stand up, but it's not enough right now to stop any of this, crazy, wasteful spending that we get. And therefore, and the cover is that there are people that are hurting and that need us. But, really, they give such wide latitude on terms of who's going to get, the stimulus. I mean, it's what, 87,000 or thereabouts AGI if you're single, 150,000 or so if you're married. I've never reached anywhere near that height in my married life, so I'm easily covered by this. But am I really the target audience? Is this kind of middle class the group that really needs it the most? What if there are people that are still struggling to find work, that lost jobs, that are not coming back because of the pandemic. Pandemic changed the face of the economy forever. We lost a lot of businesses and we'll lose a lot more businesses. Even with PPP money, more PPP money in this program coming forward, that's not going to save the day, especially as long as local governments, as governors, local officials continue to, basically say you can't have indoor dining or you limit the number of people in a store. You're hurting the mom and pops. You're not going to hurt the Walmarts of the world or the Costco's or these big stores, the grocery stores, the Kroger chain and all of these things. Those guys aren't going to be hurt because they're going to be able to stay open and conduct business. People need them. However, those, all that those businesses that sprung up over the last, 5, 10, 15 years, where they're small businesses, a lot of them are going away and won't be able to come back. And there's not going to be a lot of encouragement to get more going. Where do you get the entrepreneurs of the future when you have so many restrictions and the possibility? We're gonna pin our hopes on these vaccines that we're able to gain a hold and control of the pandemic, and then get back to some sense of normalcy sometime in 2021. But until people start traveling more, until people start doing the things that they were doing beforehand, before the pandemic hit, you're going to have very uneven results across the board. That there's going to be the haves and the have-nots in business, and a lot of small businesses are just not going to be able to survive. There's just we can pour all kinds into that, but then it's a case of how long do you prop up small businesses? They have unemployment relief in this bill, but we've been dumping a ton of money for unemployment relief. Unemployment has recovered to a certain degree. It's not anywhere near the pre-pandemic levels, and it won't get there for a while. But that also somewhat of a disincentive to a lot of people to go back to work when they are able to go back to work, because you can, in a lot of cases, you can still, even at $300 extra, you can still make more money in some jobs than you were, if you went to work. So, I think, the goals, or at least, the idea is right in the sense that, there is money that needs to be pumped in here. Not as much money as we did earlier this year. We're in much better shape than we were back in March. However, this non-targeted, way of doing things doesn't really help. There are going to be a lot of people who get $600 per person, all those stimulus checks, and they're not going to have, they're probably not going to spend. They may just save it. I mean, I'm betting that my own daughter, they've got 5 kids. So, they're going to get $4,200, right? $4,200. Do they need it? No, they're actually doing okay. And the chances are that money will just go and sit in a savings account or something like that, and probably not really be pumped into the economy. And that's really, which is the goal of this, is to put the money into the economy. But it's not going to happen in a lot of cases. Remember what we saw this year is that the savings rate in the United States soared this year, right? Once people realized what was going on, they started to save. They saved the stimulus money. They were doing that. So the people who really needed it spent it all. But the savings rate, just went right through the roof. It's something that, economists have been worried for years, is that our savings rate was too low. Now they're thinking it may be too high because it is actually hurting the economy. They're saving too much money as a percentage of their income and not putting it back where it needs to be, and that is being spent. All right. Kwanzaa, Kamala Harris. She put out a video this past week about her Kwanzaa childhood memories. All right. Okay. Please raise your hand. All right. I want, or comment here if you actually think that she actually has childhood memories of Kwanzaa. Right. She's in her 50s. All right. This is something that's been around for a while, but it's not like this is, she's half Jamaican and half Indian. There's no evidence in anything that, in her past that she's been a big supporter or celebrator of Kwanzaa. She identifies more with a Hindu religion. It just doesn't really quite add up. And talk about pandering or lying or whatever you want to call it. This is absolutely ridiculous. To see this happen, it's just like, please quit playing to the crowd here. Don't get into something you know nothing about, or just trying to build up your black bona fides. I saw several people said, Jamaicans really don't care about this all the way. It's not their holiday. New York Post has come out. Now you're seeing the slow but steady march from conservative media or conservative-leaning media. They had an editorial telling President Trump to please stop the insanity. All right, this probably splits the audience to a certain degree, but I generally agree with this. Okay, you can throw the brickbats at me or whatever you want, but here it is. We are coming up on January 6th when the Congress will vote, on the Electoral College. They'll certify the vote. Mike Pence will preside, and then basically it'll be all over for sure. In the meantime, there are plenty of people out there that are going to, they're protesting and doing things and making a lot of noise. President Trump has not officially conceded, though he said he would after the Electoral College vote, so that didn't happen. There's no guarantee that on January 6th, even when Mike Pence certifies this thing, that it's going, that he'll concede then. There are reports that President Trump is very mad at Vice President Pence, and he's really angling to try to get, he's got members of Congress that would object to the whole Electoral College vote. We're not really sure whether or not we actually have a senator to step forth and do this. But is this really what we want in this republic for our democracy, is to have this happen at this point in time, being, at that point in time, we'll be 2 weeks away from the inauguration? No, I don't think so. Like I've said many times before, I'm not happy with the results of the election on the presidential level, but we did do okay we did much better than expected on the congressional level, and the Senate still up in the air. But I think we need, we don't need all the distractions on the top line, so we can actually think about Georgia. And we need a minimum of a split, I think, and we'd love to get both of those seats and retain them. Who knows? Lots of votes have been cast. I don't, is it possible for these Democrats to get elected, in Georgia? Anything is possible, I think. These things are crazy. But, you don't want to get that over to Joe Biden and the Democrats, and because that gives, Nancy Pelosi and AOC and all these people a chance to push the agenda through to the Senate. The Senate then, stamps it with their majority, if they got a Democrat majority, or at least even if it goes 50-50, right? If it goes 50-50, Kamala Harris casts the deciding vote, so the Democrats control. And so the Biden agenda, or the AOC-inspired Biden agenda, whatever you want to call it, will then go forth. So the Senate is really the firewall for the real bad stuff that could come out of the Biden agenda. And so that's what you want. You want the Republicans to maintain control of the Senate. And then the next 4 years really won't be that bad in all likelihood, unless they do some other really stupid stuff and somehow convince Republicans to go along with it, which I don't necessarily rule out because of certain Republicans in the Senate. But I think even those recalcitrant Republicans will hold the line with a Democrat president. I think that becomes the difference. And the differences that they had with Trump, will be gone because President Trump won't be around for that. There is a committee at the University of Michigan, and they have been studying words. And so they have now deemed that the words picnic and brown bag are offensive. All right. And they want this to be a gathering, and a lunch and learn. Yeah, this is just, once again, this is how crazy the culture has become on these types of things. Is that words that we have been used to, we've been thinking, we've been saying, terminology we've been using forever and ever, have all of a sudden been deemed offensive or politically incorrect, politically correct. Sorry, and and then that just, you cannot do it. So we prefer, conservatives prefer to be politically incorrect rather than PC, and but the University of Michigan, now there's no saying that this stuff will actually go through. They just deemed it offensive, but we're talking about higher education. They tend to adopt a bunch of goofy things. And I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't become something that manages to make its way through higher education here and there. That, oh yeah, yeah, brown bag, yeah, no good picnic, those are offensive. Yeah. Head scratching type of things that continue to occur in our world. And then there's the Cartoon Network also, and their cancel culture, and all of these things that are going on. They are introducing, the proper gender pronouns in the cartoons going forward. So expect a lot more of the basically, you're going to get kids who watch Cartoon Network will get a whole host of gender identities. I'm sure that's exactly what you want as parents and grandparents, is to see your children and grandchildren exposed to the multiplicity of gender identities. I don't know what they're getting in school. Okay, at this point in time, they're probably getting some of that anyway, but it's just, there is going to be front and center. So you may want to rethink, if you ever let them watch Cartoon Network, to rethink that whole deal as well. Because this is just another level of insanity that is happening in our United States today. All right, that'll be it for today. Please, as always, stay safe and stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. And then I'll see you on Wednesday with Brian for the larger show, the final broadcast with Brian for the year. So it'll be a barn burner, I'm sure. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Stay safe.